And welcome everybody to our second episode of Off the Bench. My name is Esteban Velez, and today, January 22nd, 2023, we have another special guest with us, Culver Stockton women's basketball player Alliyah Ortiz, the grad student out of Tucson, Arizona, joining us today. We're very excited to have her along. Alliyah, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Love to hear that. So let's get right to it, Alliyah. On and off the court, how would you describe yourself?
For the most part, I'm pretty shy. Don't speak much. But on the court, a little more outgoing. And yeah.
So let's start first with this kind of sour topic. Let's get into injuries, and more specifically, your injuries. So during the summer, you had a surgery for your knee.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of talk to us about what was that about? What kind of went through your head, and what was the surgery for?
So I had a bipartite patella, which means underneath the x-ray kind of looked like my knee was fractured, and that's what was causing me pain. And it was a pretty fast recovery, but I was nervous at the beginning of the season because I wasn't able to do open gym, and it was a little bit slower getting back into it.
Were you worried at all whenever you were getting the surgery, or even after, about how that could affect your performance on the court?
Oh, for sure, because a couple weeks after I was getting in the gym, and it wasn't the same as before, and even now it still bothers me every now and then.
So even during this season right now, you've kind of had a couple minor injuries. I'm not too sure exactly what all they've been. Can you kind of let us know, what the injuries are, how you're feeling right now, and what's gone through your head during the season?
So I sprained my ankle recently. It's not as bad, but the one that really gets me is my plantar fasciitis on the bottom of my foot. And it comes on, comes off, but it puts needles in it and I'm fine.
Do you usually feel that during the game at all?
Adrenaline takes care of most of it, but it's mostly when I'm at a standstill.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't really seem like you feel that, during the game, especially two game days ago against CMU. Impressive stats over there, especially you being able to play the entire 40 minutes. We haven't seen that in a while, especially here at Culver Stockton. Were you worried at all for the next game that you were going to be a little bit fatigued at all?
Well, in the moment, I didn't even think about it. But afterwards, I got some good recovery, and I felt ready to go.
Before we dive in deeper into this season and your games so far, last season, last 2 seasons actually, you got used to playing with your sister, Kiana Ortiz, here at college, something you were used to doing at high school as well. This season, however, she transferred, and you guys are no longer playing together on the court. How has that affected you both on and off the court, and how have you been able to adjust to, not having your sister by your side every single day?
Well, my first 2 years of college, I did play without her, but I really got used to her last year, and we just kind of knew what each other were going to do on the court. But off the court, I had a couple of friends that helped me through it.
That's always good to hear. At least you're, able to adopt well, and as I said during the season, it looks like you're doing pretty great on the court. So, really thankful for that. Getting into not last game, but the game before that, Thursday at CMU, you guys were off to a pretty good start. You guys were leading pretty much the entire way, something we've seen a decent amount from you guys this season. However, kind of choked at the fourth quarter and came up with a narrow loss over there. What was the coach's message after the game, and how were the players' emotions after the loss?
When the last buzzer went off, we all looked defeated, but going into the locker room, we really came together, and that was a good turning point for us because most of the season has been pretty rough. But our coach didn't really yell at us much. She was pretty positive and just told us, we need to work on rebounding more.
In that game, as I mentioned earlier, you played the full game. You had 40 minutes. You had 17 points. You led the team in points and assists as well with 8. You almost had another double-double to your career. You had 4 steals and 5 rebounds. What does that say about you as a player, not just in that game, but throughout the entire season so far?
I think it is more of a team effort because I can't do all those stats without everybody else helping with either tips or making the basket going to the ball. But I am pretty proud of myself. Come a long way.
That's great to hear. We love it. And were you at all worried? You know, you guys had a game 2 days after that, a tough one against Mid-America. Were you worried you weren't going to be fully recovered for that game?
No, I actually was feeling pretty good the next day. So didn't have to worry about that.
During the season, you guys have had your ups and downs so far. Kind of started off a little bit shaky, then got back on the road and kind of shaky again. And going back to it, a lot of narrow losses. What has been, if you can say, the main issue for you guys this season to be so inconsistent and just not able to close out close games?
Our coach has been praising rebounding a lot because that's where we struggle the most. And that is something I very much agree with.
You guys have also had a lot of injuries this season. Can you talk to us about how that's affected your team's performance? We've kind of seen a lot of players, you know, be good for a game or two, then get a minor injury, and then be off. And then another player recovers, and then another player gets an injury. So the inconsistency of the starting lineup because of it, can you tell us how exactly it's impacted your team?
Well, we have a lot of young players. It's a very young team. And adapting to each other and the way we play has been difficult because I think I'm the oldest other than Winter on the team. And so just trying to figure out how they will react to pressure. Yeah.
Looking a bit at your conference stats right now, you're currently leading the conference in assists. You're fourth in free throw percentage, third in steals, and seventh in blocks. We're going to talk about these individually, but the one that stands out to me the most is the blocks. You're 5'6", and then you're still seventh in blocks in the Heart of America Athletic Conference standings. What does that say about you defensively and the commitment you have to get back on the defensive end and just give it all for your team?
Blocks has always been something I've enjoyed doing. Like, that's probably my favorite stat out of all the lineup. So whenever I can get a block, I'm going to take that chance.
Talking now about the assists, first in the conference. What makes you so special in being able to find your teammates and have that vision on the court, just knowing where everyone is?
I think it's my court awareness and knowing where they're going to be, not where they're at.
In terms of free throws, I got to speak to Jeanette Bergen, Coach Bergen, earlier this season. She said she wants you guys to shoot at least 75% on a daily basis in terms of games. If not, you're running laps. You're currently fourth in free throws in the conference standings. How do you prepare for that? And is there any pressure on you at all when you're at the line, you know, just thinking, if we don't get this certain amount of percentage, we're going to be doing this as a punishment? What goes through your head when you're in the free throw line?
So I don't think so much of the punishment, but I have a routine that I do. And in my head, I said God, family, and then myself.
Now looking at the steals part of it, back to the defensive end. You're third in steals in the conference standings. Again, do you just enjoy being a defensive player all around? Because I know some players just don't really like to work so hard defensively, but you're leading the stats in the defensive end of things.
I do have to say I enjoy on the defensive end more than scoring or anything else. And it also helps with our defense, how we get a lot of tips. So it makes it a little bit easier for me too.
Going back to yesterday's game, Saturday, January 20th, you guys played Mid-America National Reed. We were able to, call that game, Jacob and I. We were really excited after the first quarter. We were like, okay, we're facing the number 4 team in the conference, and we're winning. We held them to 4 points in the first quarter. Then second quarter came around. We were already kind of celebrating. At the half, we're leading by 23. We were like, we won this game. We're excited. We're going to get a top-notch win. However, the final result, not exactly what we were hoping, not exactly what we thought would take place. We were losing by 1 point at the end of things. What was the main difference between the first half and second half that just, let you guys not be able to pick up the win?
It didn't seem like we were as focused and ready to go. And when they changed and started hitting shots, we didn't adapt to that. And we kind of settled for what we were already at and just didn't push it all the way through.
Would you say coming out of the locker room at halftime, you guys were a bit overconfident and already thought you had won the game?
I think so.
Mid-AM, as I mentioned earlier, winning the third quarter 21-7 and the fourth quarter 21-11. At the end of the game, how did you guys take the loss? And once again, what was coach's message after a tough defeat?
That one, I think it really hit us hard because the game's not over until the 40 minutes are up. And we did get chewed out, rightfully. And it all came back down to the defensive side. Just couldn't get stops, and then we weren't pushing on the other side.
You kind of talked about it a little bit in terms of defense. You guys were doing great the first two quarters, forcing a lot of turnovers. We saw that against CMU as well. You guys forced 19 turnovers out of CMU. So defensively, first two quarters looking pretty good. And as you said, third and fourth kind of slowed down things on the defensive end of things. Next Wednesday, you guys will be facing William Penn. What exactly are we supposed to be expecting out of the game?
Well, we need to lock in mostly on the defensive side because it's not going to be an easy game. None of these games are going to be, and of course we want to win them all, but we just have to be prepared and locked in.
You guys are pretty much at the halfway point of the season right now. For the rest of the season, what are your goals, your personal goals for yourself, and what are the team's goals so far? Is making conference tournament, the playoffs, it's still an achievable goal for the team?
It is an achievable goal for us, and we just need to continue to hold down and have each other's backs through this hard time. But I think we can do it. I think it's very possible.
I got a couple more questions before we let you go. More on the personal side of things, what is one team in the conference you like facing and why?
I like facing?
Yeah, the team you feel most comfortable facing. If you're like, let's play this team, I feel like I'm comfortable facing this team, let's do it. Which one would it be?
I have to say William Penn.
That's good.
Yes, because we played amazing against him the first time around, but I still don't know if it'll be like that the second.
If you had to name one part of your game that's your strong suit, what would that be?
I would like to say my court vision. I can see the floor very well.
And one area of your game you want to improve the most. What's your kind of like weak point?
Shooting. Shooting is definitely my weak point.
Last one we have for you. This is your last season in college, last year of eligibility. Once your season and career is all said and done, what do you want people to remember you for?
How hard I worked and just the presence I brought on the floor.
Perfect. Alliyah, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you along.